Welcome friends to another r/EntitledParents video. If you want a quick and easy way to prove that you're not an entitled person, all you gotta do is hit those like and subscribe buttons down below. That said, our first story of the day is by Plop Tart Throwaway. Narcissist parents wanted me to trade houses with them because I got a slightly better one, and then literally stole my air conditioners when I refused to give them money. I'm going to start this off by saying that if you have a house and don't have cameras, get cameras. I have some now, but I should have gotten them sooner. I live in a pretty typical manufactured home in Arizona. My parents also live in one just a few streets over. Despite how close we are, I'm very little contact because they're just bad people. They treated me okay as a kid, but things changed as soon as I was in my late teens. I was expected to do more and pay my way as soon as I finished high school. That was fair. I was an adult by then after all. But my parents wanted a lot more in rent than what I'd have to pay to get my own apartment. I'd have had next to nothing left of my monthly paycheck if I'd given them what they wanted. So I refused to give them more than a fair amount, plus a share in utilities, and I started buying my own food as well. My father openly said this was not good enough, and my parents actually filed official paperwork to evict me when I refused to cater to their demands. I left the home and got an apartment with my best friend. 5 years later, and I bought my own house in a neighborhood not far from my parents. It's just a manufactured home on a small property, but it was so darn cheap that I couldn't turn it down. And my monthly mortgage isn't bad either. I even moved my best friend in to help me cover the bills. We were already used to living in the same space, and the house gave us much more room. I may even let another friend move in to get some more rent money for the mortgage, because we've got one room that's actually left unused right now, since the house is a 3-bedroom. My parents, though, somehow didn't like my independence from them. Did they want me to fail or something? I don't know. But the incident that caused very little contact was when they demand I trade houses with them. Yes, you heard that correctly. They actually wanted to trade. Their manufactured home is smaller and older than mine and has one less bedroom, and their yard is smaller too. Not that either of us have any grass, it's Arizona after all. When they first saw my place, they looked pissed. After a couple more visits, my father actually said it wasn't fair that I was doing better than them, and I was rubbing my nicer house in their faces. It's just an old manufactured home in one of the hottest states in the US. Seriously, what's to brag about? But I guess just having something even slightly better than what my parents had irked them. And as I've already said, they actually demanded we trade houses because of it. My friend who lives with me literally fell onto the couch laughing when they said that. And I couldn't help but join in. My father said it was not funny, and to give him what he wants. When I recovered my composure, I said he and my mother were not entitled to my house, or anything I owned for that matter, and then told them to get the freak out. After that, we barely spoke, and then the pandemic hit. Didn't really change my life much. I like the peace and quiet, and my friend knows to leave me alone most of the time. My father, however, got laid off, and he struggled to find another job. He ended up working in the local Marta Walls for half a year before getting a better paying job. I did get a kick out of seeing him there when I was shopping for groceries, but as much as I hate him, I'm not going to call him a bad employee. He actually did fine. But during that time, he and my mother kept calling me and asking for money. And I know what y'all are thinking, don't lend them anything. They didn't want loans, they wanted handouts. Why? Because they raised me and I owed them. I said if they didn't want the cost of raising a kid, they shouldn't have had one. A few weeks ago though, my mother called me begging for money because their dinosaur of a window AC unit finally crapped out. I told them I wasn't gonna give them anything and they were too cheap to replace that old AC unit for a long time, so I wasn't gonna buy them a new one. My mother then complained about how I have 2 in my house and the least I could do is give them 1. I then said that maybe if she and my father weren't always pissing away their money on beer and MJ all the time, they'd have money to buy another AC. Then I said I wasn't giving them one of mine or any money, end of story. Only it wasn't the end of the story. A few days later, I come home from work to find my house had been broken into. My front door locks were drilled out and both of my window AC units were gone. Nothing else was stolen, but they went out of their way to make a huge mess for some stupid reason, probably to make it look like a typical robbery or something. I knew it had to be my parents and called the police. I told police that I heavily suspected my parents of the theft because they act entitled to my stuff, even though I'm a grown man that doesn't live with them. I went with the police to my parents' house, and sure enough, they had both my AC units going in their windows. When confronting my parents, they obviously denied the theft, then claimed they already owned the AC units, but statements from their neighbors said otherwise. But my parents still denied the theft. I'd bought both AC units used online years ago, which means I had no receipts for them. So I figured my only option was to look for witnesses in my own neighborhood. And as luck would have it, a neighbor across the street has security cameras, and the edge of one of them caught just enough to see my parents showing up in my father's truck. My father could be seen walking with a cordless power drill in hand. And a few minutes later, they came back to the truck with my AC units. They went back in to ransack the place, I'm guessing. With this evidence in hand, police had cause to arrest my parents. At first, both of them acted like they'd done nothing wrong, but I convinced police to let me do the talking. I said they could either return the AC units to my home and clean up the mess they made, or I'd let the police arrest them both right there. They'd already stolen from me, lied to police, trespassed, vandalized my house, broke my front door locks, and there was video evidence of what they'd done. If I pressed charges, they were both going to jail for sure. My parents looked deflated, then asked for a moment to talk with each other in their bedroom. I heard a lot of shouting from both of them, and I could hear my mother yelling that my father was an idiot, and he was trying to blame me in turn. After about 5 minutes of that, they came back out looking even more deflated and said they'll return the AC units and stop bothering me for money if I didn't press charges. I said they were gonna clean up the mess in my house and buy new locks for my front door as well. And then I wanted a written apology from both of them on top of it. They begrudgingly agreed and even got a police escort back to my house. My father was forced to put the AC units back in my windows and then left my mother to clean up the huge mess they made while he went out and bought replacement locks for my front door. He was gone for about an hour and came back with a new stainless steel lock set to replace the knob and deadbolt. Then he had to help my mother finish cleaning. During this time, I let the two cops just sit and watch them while drinking soda. They said it was very entertaining. After everything was cleaned up, I gave my parents each a piece of paper and a pencil, then told them to write out apologies to me for what they'd done. My father looked especially pissed and said I was treating him like a child. I said he was acting like one and never stopped treating me as a child either. This was just me holding him accountable. And I could have sent him to jail, but I felt like this was better for teaching him a lesson. He then kinda snorted and started writing. My mother wrote out a good apology, but my father's was pretty half-butt and passive-aggressive, but I didn't care. It seemed to kill him inside to have to do it. And when he was done, he left without speaking to me. My mother said she was sorry and she'd leave me alone, then followed after him. The two cops said they thought the whole thing was hilarious, and then thanked me for giving them an excuse to take a break while on the job before leaving. Not long after, I shelled out to get some cameras for the exterior of my house. So if someone tries to break in again, I'll get it on video. I only have 2 cameras, but I added a couple more fake ones that look real enough just to scare people off. I haven't heard a peep from my parents, but their next door neighbor told me they went and bought a new AC unit. Guess they had the money for one after all. Makes me wonder how high they were when they thought it was a good idea to steal from me. Maybe having lean pockets for a while will teach them. Then again, they are who they are after all. In this situation, if your own parents were willing to break into your house and do this to you where you lived, would you rather just send them to jail knowing they're almost certainly doomed to get some kind of decent sentence? Or if they returned everything, cleaned everything up, wrote you an apology, and fixed whatever they broke, would that be enough for you? Let me know what you would do in the comments down below. Our next story is by Ryan Space Ace, entitled Mom Tries to Take a Prize We Earned at a Talent Show. I'm 17-year-old male. My school had a talent show yesterday. I'm Ace Frehley in a Kiss tribute band, and I came up with a guitar solo to go along with the song Shock Me. So we played Shock Me. We were towards the end of the show, and the people before us went up. They had 9 people in their group, and they were doing a dance number. They were really good, and I got nervous that the audience would be underwhelmed when we went out. They were doing somersaults and had amazing choreography. They finished, and we went out and performed the best we could. The stage went dark, and a spotlight shined on me when I did my solo. We finished our performance and exited the stage. A little while later, the audience voted in who they thought should win. We tied with the dance group. The host went onto the stage and announced that both groups would go out again and perform a different song and dance. We went out first and played Christine 16. I wailed on my guitar and our drummer pounded his drums. Our rhythm guitarist moved around the stage the most while our bassist was singing the song. We had a really energetic performance and we got a huge applause. The dance group went out and they put on a solid show, but it was obvious they didn't plan another routine. And to be fair, we didn't plan to play another song either. We decided on Christine 16 30 seconds before we went out. The audience voted again, and it was close, but we won by a few votes. We accepted our prize, which is a gift card to the pizza place by our school, and the show was over. The audience went to the parking lot, and my band and I went outside so we could get ready to go home. The dance group came up to us and congratulated us. My mom's friend then came over and started to lecture us about playing Christine 16. She said, "My son doesn't need to hear that crap," then demanded we give her our prize for corrupting her son. We refused, and she started to flip out. I'm going to point out that her son is 16. Once she saw that we weren't going to give our prize up, she tried to forcibly grab it. We passed it between us so she couldn't take it. It came to me, and she tried to grab my wrist, and that's when some other parents got involved and separated her from us. She yelled at us a little bit more before she left, too. This morning, I woke up, brushed my teeth, and went to the kitchen. My mom came into the kitchen and gave me a 20-minute lecture on how I disrespected her friend. I told her that she tried to take our prize, but she didn't listen and walked out. Well, I feel bad for OP because not only did they have to deal with some entitled Karen, but they had to discover that their mom's an entitled parent too who's besties with them. Imagine your best friend trying to steal a prize trophy from a bunch of kids who played a Kiss song at their school talent show over your own son who was part of said winning group. Yikes. Our next story is by Milky Way Gal. My mother keeps asking for free art to return on her investment. So I'm an artist, 19-year-old female, non-binary. I've been self-taught till I started college classes at 14. I'm graduating with a bachelor's degree this semester. My lawyer mother, 42-year-old female, has helped me a lot on life, pays for large chunks of my tuition, part of my rent last semester, and my bills this semester. I do greatly appreciate this. Back to the matter at hand, my mother's asked me to make her free art before. My dumpster fire of a brain usually just forgets about it a good chunk of the time, since there's no deadlines or incentive beyond her asking. The last time was her asking to redraw a picture of her and her 3 other lawyer buddies, with payment afterward. Never finished it cause why? Today, I woke up to her asking me to redraw someone's work that has 3 popular superheroes next to Ruth Bader Ginsburg. The requested rendition was originally just supposed to be female superheroes. I asked her if I could request a quarter of what my standard commission price would be for that, $95 down to like $25, and she said no by sending me a screenshot of a conversation she was having with people in the Facebook group this was for, saying how she needs a return on her investment in her college. Then told me that people could just buy it after the fact. More shenanigans ensue as I try to ask her what heroes she wants, and she just says popular ones. So when I explain why I'd picked a specific selection and brought up She-Hulk, my mother then goes on to say I could make a version with just lawyer superheroes. I already asked if she wanted that. So now I'm just at a loss because I don't want to do it for free, even if there's no deadline. But at the same time, my mother's a professional arguer. So at this point in my life, I just do what she says because I can rarely win. My boyfriend, 21-year-old male, thinks that my mother is being unreasonable and not even paying me a quarter, let alone the $6 an hour full price I have. I'm going to be making the art, just needed to vent. It's already one thing for them to ask and expect for free art, but then they're like going around making revisions or wanting specific things and then flip-flopping and not really knowing what they want personally. Like, regardless of already expecting the free art, they just sound like a nightmare client in general. One of those people that if they weren't literally your own mom, you'd be like, forget it, just find somebody else. Our next story is by Walla Woa. Mom assumes that I'm free labor to help her move. Big oof. My mom's getting ready to move out of the state for me in the next 17 days. Against my wants and better judgment, I'm being forced to drive and help her move. She's been packing her house for the past 2 weeks, but has been attempting to make me feel guilty that I'm not voluntarily going over there. For context, I have an older sister who's moved back home roughly 3 months ago. I was in the middle of the night, before I had to be up at the butt crack of dawn for work, by my mom telling me her and her BD broke up and she moves back with my little nephew. Also, my father's disabled, and even with my sister who doesn't work, I've still been required to go over almost every day after work to help take care of my father. Because my sister refuses or just isn't home and won't answer phone calls, and my mother guilts me saying, well, it's your dad and he needs the help. I let a couple months go due to medical situations that arose with my mom. Now, in the process of moving, she's constantly assuming I'll be over every day to pack. I moved out a year ago and went over a few times to get the last few boxes I left, and they've been since removed. Mom never asks me if I'm free and if I'm willing. That's all I really want, is someone to ask, not assume. I'm an adult and I have my own house and errands I need to run to keep said places going. I also work full-time. I can't just drop my life and be at her beck and call. She texted me the other day saying, I need you this day. I told her I can't. I have some friends coming over, but I would come over the following day. The next day while I'm at work, she's texting me how much she got packed by herself and how excited she was, then proceeded to complain that she shouldn't have to do it all herself. She also mentioned my sister, who has amended her relationship with BD and is planning on moving back in once mom and dad are moved, but has yet to pack her room or help my mom pack the house she's been living in rent-free for in the past 3 to 4 months. Told her to just relax for a bit and take it easy. She's still technically recovering from ankle surgery. Also told her how proud I was of her and asked if she was going to relax for the rest of the day. She said no because this needs to be done. I mentioned how I have next weekend off if she wanted help. Call it a stupid question, she always needs help. I calmly explained to her that she needs to tell me when she needs help, as I will never assume. I still have my own errands to run and my own house I need to take care of. I'm not trying to be a jerk, but I'd rather have a set day and time and know when I need to go over there. I spent after work that day with her and most of today with her, and all I heard was how I don't know how to use packing tape properly, crapping on my progress on putting her DVDs in boxes, and being the sole caregiver for my father. Just like every time I'm over for a visit. Even if it's for 5 minutes, he's instantly my responsibility. I don't blame my dad, it's not his fault, but freak, I just want my life back. It's been like this for a year. And it's because my sister is unreliable. I'm forced to pack my mom's house, I'm being forced to drive to help and move her, and because of this, I have to step foot in a place that gives me PTSD and I haven't been in over a decade. Someone please tell me I'm not crazy and I have the right to just be exhausted, because I don't know how much longer I'm gonna be able to hold out before snapping. I definitely don't blame OP. It is very frustrating to feel like when there's very able people that can do stuff on their own, and they just keep caving and coming to you for help or to basically do what feels like everything for them, I would get endlessly tired and frustrated and fed up too. Especially if there's somebody that's more or less mooching off of them, living there and not doing anything when you have to keep coming over and doing everything for them. Our next story is by Cucumber Witch. Karen gets mad at me because I stopped her kids from committing vandalism. So before we begin, let's take a look at our cast. We have, of course, me, 20-year-old female, Karen, who's around double my age, Karen's 4 little angels, all around the age of 6 or 7, Karen's friend, my mother, and last but not least, Nice Lady. Before I begin, it's important to mention that I'm autistic. I'm therefore incredibly sensitive to loud noises and get very stressed when I'm in a loud environment for a prolonged period of time. On to the story. Yesterday, me and my mother picked up our cat from the vet. He was very stressed, so I tried to be as careful as possible. It was our first time visiting this vet, and it was in a pretty rural area that was unfamiliar to us. Me and my mother wanted to pick the bus home because gas prices are through the roof right now, and once we arrived at the bus stop, we met the rest of the cast. Everything was fine at first. The kids of Karen were playing together, and although they were a bit loud, they didn't cause much of a ruckus, just kids being kids. The Nice Lady approached us and asked about our cat, who was calmly resting in his transport box. The Nice Lady was also a cat owner, and so we started a little conversation in a group of 3, talking about our love of cats. The issue began after around 5 minutes of waiting time, where a fallen over advertisement poster became the victim of these 4 kids. They started kicking it around and got incredibly loud while using incredibly vile vocabulary that would make even a sailor cringe. I tried to ignore it at first, trying to continue the conversation with the nice lady, but after around 15 minutes of hearing these kids screech around very cruel insults at the woman pictured on the advertisement and literally breaking the frame the poster was embedded in, I had enough. During these 15 minutes, Karen did nothing and just watched as this all went down with a smile on her face, while everyone else looked visibly uncomfortable. In an attempt of pure desperation to get the noise to stop, I walked over to one of the Karen's little angels who was holding the poster him and his siblings violently ripped out of the frame and told him calmly but firmly to hand over the poster so I can put it away. He did so reluctantly, and as I grabbed the broken things off the ground to put them away, Karen finally took action. But instead of doing her literal job and controlling her crotch goblins, she came over to me. The interaction went something like this. Karen said, "What the heck are you doing?" I say, "I'm putting away the poster. What your kids are doing isn't okay." Karen says, "And? Some idiot left it there, so my kids can do what they want with it. You were also their age once. Try to be more understanding." I don't know about y'all, but vandalism wasn't really a typical childhood activity for me, but maybe that's just me. I say, "That doesn't make it okay. This is still public property. Your kids are also incredibly loud and disrespectful. Everyone here, besides you, is incredibly bothered by the way your kids act." Karen cut me off. "Oh, shut up, you liberal. It's not that serious. Who do you think you are, huh?" I seriously don't know where she got the idea that I'm a liberal, probably because of the way I dress. At this point, my mind went blank. She came incredibly close up to my face, trying to tower over me, and screamed at me. She, of course, wasn't wearing a mask, revealing her very horrible choice of a lipstick color that I could only describe as a pink and orange highlighter mixed together. I'm incredibly afraid of close contact, and instantly felt threatened, so I unintentionally got a little louder as well. I don't appreciate being talked to me that way. Talk to me like a grown adult. Karen proceeded to tell me to calm down after literally screaming inches from my face, acting like I was the irrational one. At this point, my mother called me over. She noticed that I was becoming very distressed and knows I have a hard time to stop arguments once they started. I come back to my mother and the nice lady in a huff. I was still distressed about the whole situation as they tried their best to distract me by continuing our previous conversation, telling me that trying to reason with someone like that isn't worth it and just a waste of time. Karen, meanwhile, went absolutely ballistic, ranting to her friend loudly, stomping, and pointing at me like a 5-year-old throwing a tantrum over not getting ice cream for dinner. Her ponytail of frizzed, platinum bleach hair flailed around as she did so. Her crotch goblins, of course, went back to the poor poster and started violating it again. I decided to not get myself involved again and just started talking about cats again with my mother and the nice lady, trying my best to keep my sensory overload under control. Karen half-heartedly tried to stop her kids from violating the poor poster to no avail. After she got them to stop, they just went right back to it after like 5 seconds max. After around 20 minutes of waiting for this god-forsaken bus, Karen, her friend, and her sweet angels decided to go home on foot. Before they did though, one of Karen's little angels, aka the one who held the poster when I took it away, decided to come up behind me to screech into my ear before walking away with his mother. Afterwards, I was able to enjoy 10 minutes of silence before the bus finally came. My ears still hurt after an hour though. And that's the tale of Karen getting upset at me for doing her job. Oh, you gotta love and adore that this Karen is so oblivious to just how awful their kids are being, really raising them up to be stand-up citizens, I'm sure. You know, years down the road, if these kids grow up to be impulsive jerks getting into trouble, you know what that first thing that Karen's gonna say probably is? "I didn't raise you to be like this. I didn't teach you to be this way." Either that, or maybe they're gonna just be too busy arguing with the cops about how their babies are innocent and would never do something like that. And you know, just not having enough time to be hypocritical against your kids. And our final story of the day is by Familiar Money 515, entitled "Mom Insists I Give Her Kid My Computer." So this was a while ago, but I've wanted to add it to the subreddit since I started. I'm a regular train rider, or at least I was when I was in high school. I would take the train from my hometown to the city my grandparents live in every long weekend or holiday. So I had my train routine down to a T. Delays were common, but that's part of the experience. On long rides like this, and noticing kids get restless, I would let them watch a movie or draw on the Paint app with my computer. This ride was different though. Entitled Mother was another semi-regular and had a habit of verbally abusing the attendants. Entitled Mother sat across from me this ride, and the entire time her son was being such a disruption. And I tried my best to ignore them since the Entitled Mother did nothing to settle the kid down. Like I said, I'd usually offer to help out by providing a distraction, but frankly the son was destructive and I didn't trust them. I also happened to be having a stroke of creative genius and was working on an original musical, getting more done in hours than I had in months. Unfortunately, at one point Entitled Mother made eye contact with me and motioned for me to take my earbuds out. I did, and I still don't fully understand the convo that followed. The Entitled Mother said, "Do you think my son could watch a movie on your computer? I can't get him to calm down." She hadn't even tried, but okay. I said, "Sorry, maybe in a bit, but I'm working right now." She said, "You've done it for other kids." I say, "I know, but I wasn't working then. And if you're okay with waiting, your son can use it later, but not right now." She grumbled a bit about me being a lying teenager, but turned back to her phone. After a while, her son kept coming up to ask if he could use it yet, and that Entitled Mother said he could. He kept asking. I kept saying no. He kept being a little brat the rest of the time he wasn't pestering me. Eventually, Entitled Mother tapped me on the shoulder, and I said yes. She said, "He needs to use your computer. I cannot deal with him anymore." I say, "Honestly, I don't want to let him use it at all now. You guys keep bothering me and distracting me from my work." She says, "It's summer. You don't have any work." I say, "You don't know that. What do you think I've been doing since you guys got on?" "Working. I'm doing something important, and you won't back off. I'll tell you if your son can use it when I'm ready to let him." She says, "You can do it later." I say, "No, I can't." She says, "Would it kill you to just let him use it?" I said, "Yeah, if I let him use it now, just wait." Entitled Mother, once again disgruntled, turned back to her seat and travel companion and started crap-talking me again. Eventually, writer's block hit me again, and I shut down my writing programs and moved my bag to under my seat and offered for her son to watch a movie. Apparently, I committed 2 crimes at this point. Despicable Me was not good enough. Entitled Mother insisted that the son bring my computer into their seating area. And that was when my patience was through. The Entitled Mother says, "What do you think you're doing?" I say, "Letting your son watch a movie." The kid says, "I don't want to watch Despicable Me." She says, "No, he needs to sit with us." She let him run around between cars unattended all day, but okay. I say, "I mean, you're right there. You can still watch them, and I only have a few kids' movies, and I thought this was better than Frozen or The Little Mermaid." I have a younger sister. She likes princesses. He sighed and just started watching, but Entitled Mother stood and grabbed my computer off of the tray in front of her son and I. I was livid and snatched my computer back. She says, "He has to sit with us." I say, "Not with my computer, he doesn't." As she was cussing me out, I grabbed my bag and left to the window car. The amount of light gave me a headache, but I just vented to the attendant who I knew well, and they vented back to me about her crappy behavior. He gave me a free hot chocolate, and I tipped him $40 because I only had to deal with her for half her journey. He would have to deal with her for the rest of the long day. Apparently, she got banned a few months later for hitting one of the attendants after an 8-hour delay. This is like the most annoying entitled parent ever. The one that lets their kid literally roam around the entire place, being just an annoying little bratty kid, and then finally find somebody that out of the kindness of their heart is willing to kind of babysit and distract their kid for them. And they start trying to pick and choose that too, saying, "Oh no, give me your computer, we're gonna watch the movie together over here." I think the secret is, the mom secretly was the one wanting to watch Despicable Me, not the kid. I bet she wanted that computer for herself so she could sit back and have something to watch. Needless to say, if I was in an OP situation, I'd pack up and get out of there too. Forget that noise, forget that entitled parent, and I'm sorry kid, but forget you too. I'd rather go talk to the attendant in the shining bright light in your eyes as well and vent about them at least. At least that's fun-ish. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. So of all these stories I've read today, which is your favorite and why? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you haven't yet, if you could like and subscribe, that would mean a lot to me. Whatever you do, whether it's liking, subscribing, turning notifications on, all of it helps grow this channel and I appreciate the heck out of it. So until next time, I'll see you all tomorrow with some more stories.